Tubman was born around the year 1820 in Bucktown, Maryland. She was one of 11 children. Her real name is Arminita Ross. Harriet comes from her mother's first name, and Tubman comes from the last name of her first husband. In 1849, she escaped slavery to freedom. She then became a conductor on the Underground Railroad, and between the years 1849 and 1860, made 19 trips to the South, risking her life to free upwards of 300 people. During the Civil War, she led an armed assault at Combahee Ferry, South Carolina, which led to over 700 slaves being freed. After the war, she retired to Auburn, New York. She ran a home for the aged and was active in the women's suffrage or right to vote movement. She died in 1913 at the age of 93.
Pa.
If you guys can just put your body here. This is the American Civil War in April 12, 1861 to May 13, 1865, presented by Stanley, Adrian, Hoshier, and Kiwan.
The American Civil War was fought between April of 1861 and April of 1865. 11 states in the southern United States succeeded and became the Confederate States of America. Their president was Jefferson Davis. The United States president was Abraham Lincoln. While there are several reasons for the Civil War, the main reason was the question of slavery. Anti-slavery forces wanted to contain slavery so that eventually it would end. Pro-slavery forces wanted slavery to continue and expand into new territories. The American Civil War was very violent with over 800,000 deaths. The war ended at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865, when Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant.
And here we have Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation in September 22nd, 1862, presented by Daniel. And the video is behind you.
You see this guy? We have to
The war drags on. Lincoln is determined to end it and abolish slavery. In September 1862, he gives the South an ultimatum. Rejoin the Union. He threatens to forcibly liberate their slaves if they refuse. But the South, having tasted independence, does not want to rejoin a union where slavery would be at risk. They reject the ultimatum. Lincoln is in no mood to negotiate. If the South won't free their slaves, he will do it himself.
For white Southerners, it was a confirmation that their thoughts about Lincoln all along, that he was in fact somebody who was bent on destroying what they thought was the Southern way of life. In the North, in a sense, it gave people a different understanding of what the war was about.
On January 1st, 1863, Lincoln issues a proclamation abolishing slavery in the rebellious Southern states. Thanks to the telegraph, the news quickly spreads.
On the 4th day of January, in the year of our Lord, 1860,
Lincoln had totally grown to where he said that not only should blacks not be slaves, they should be treated as equal citizens with full enfranchisement, right to vote, right to participate.
all persons held as slaves shall be then, henceforth, and forever free.
Okay, if you guys can walk with me this way.
move back some here. Yeah, come on.
Okay, here is Thurgood Marshall and Brown versus the Board of Education in May 17th, 1954, presented by Khalil, Malachi, and Amanajar. And the video will be up there.
All right, look this way. Okay.
A man of determination, ambition, and shrewd as he was fearless, Thurgood Marshall was a lawyer, judge, civil rights leader, and the first black person to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Marshall had a high success rate as a lawyer, arguing for the Supreme Courts and for the victory in the Brown versus Board of Education, the landmark Supreme Court case that finally demolished the legal basis for segregation in America. Born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1908, Marshall attended Lincoln University before graduating at the top of his class at Howard University Law School in 1933. He began working with the NAACP the following year as director and counsel of his Legal Defense and Education Fund. Marshall helped move a reluctant segregationist nation towards racial justice by fighting in court for black rights in schools, voting booths, public facilities, criminal courts, and housing. Appointed to the U.S. Court of Appeals by President John F. Kennedy in 1961, Marshall served as a federal judge until 1965, when Lyndon Johnson named him U.S. Solicitor General. 2 years later, the Senate confirmed Marshall's nomination to the Supreme Court. As an Associate Justice, he remained unshakably committed to the defense of constitutional rights of education and legal equality for all races. Using legal and nonviolent means to advance the nation's black people, he has improved lives of all Americans by strengthening the foundations of American justice. This is our history in black.
Here is Emmett Till on August 28, 1955, presented by Elijah, Romaine, and Maureen.
The body was shipped home, back north to Chicago, where Mamie Till Bradley insisted on an open casket funeral. So all the world can see, she said, what they did to my boy. Jet magazine showed Till's corpse, beaten, mutilated, shot through the head. An entire generation of young black people would remember the horror of that photo.
This scene is the Montgomery bus boycott in December 5th, 1955 to December 20th, 1956, presented by Isaac, Jacob, Colville, and Shimon.
For a number of years, the Negro passengers on the city bus lines of Montgomery have been humiliated, intimidated, and faced threats on this bus line. Just the other day, one of the fine citizens of our community, Mrs. Rosa Parks, was arrested because she refused to give up her seat for a white passenger. Mrs. Rosa Parks was arrested and taken down to jail, taken from the bus, just because she refused to give up her seat. At present, we are in the midst of a protest of Negro citizens of Montgomery, representing some 44% of the population. 90% at least of the regular Negro bus passengers are staying off the buses, and we plan to continue until something is done.
You guys can slide down here. here is the Little Rock Nine in September 25th, 1957, presented by Julissa and Orlando.
On September 27, 1957, President Eisenhower sent 1,000 men of the United States Army to carry out the law. The Supreme Court of the United States had said, the entire strength of the nation may be used to enforce in any part of the land the security of all rights entrusted by the Constitution. And that included my rights and the rights of 8 other Negro Americans who wanted to go to Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. We were Terrence Roberts, Thelma Mothershed, Elizabeth Eckford, Ernest Green, Carlotta Walls, Melba Pattillo, Minnie Jean Brown, and Gloria Ray. And we were going to school again. Obviously, in this town of 100,000, there were many who didn't like what was happening. But as we looked at the soldiers, we knew there must be millions of others who thought we represented something important.
Here is the Freedom Riders in 1961, presented by Quadeja, Celine, and Josue.
Although segregated seating on buses and in stations was outlawed in 1960, many places still would not allow people of different races to sit together. So, a daring group of civil rights workers decided to ride around the United States to test the law. You would think riding a bus together would be easy, but some people did not like the idea of racial equality. The buses were attacked and burned, they were searched, beaten up, and arrested. Martin Luther King said this about how their brave, nonviolent action was reacted to by some authorities.
Never in the history of this nation have so many people been arrested for the cause of freedom and human dignity.
But the Freedom Riders persisted. They kept on riding, and their bravery ushered in the next stage of civil rights, which insisted that people follow the law and respect the rights and freedoms of all.
Here is the March on Washington in August 28, 1963, presented by Naisha, Oboro, Chakwe, and Starr.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I am free today. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
If you turn this way, right here. This is the Four Little Girls, September 15, 1963, presented by Teresa, Danya, Zanaya, and Hassan. And the video will be
today to reflect. That Sunday in 1963, love and forgiveness would be put to the test. A bomb planted by the white supremacists ripped through the building. 200 people were inside. 22 were injured. Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, Addie Mae Collins, and Cynthia Wesley. 4 little girls, all under the age of 15, were killed. 4.
If you turn this way. This is Malcolm X in June 28, 1964, presented by Elijah. And there will be another video.
Malcolm X was a black rights activist and assassinated in 1965, who was seen as the more radical counterpart to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Malcolm X stressed that if the government was unable or unwilling to protect black people, then black people should be able to protect themselves from aggressors, and that they would secure justice and equality by any means necessary. While a more radical approach than Dr. King's nonviolent teachings, it was noble philosophy in of itself, as he simply wanted his community to be safe and unharmed. Many African Americans believe that Malcolm X articulated their complaints about inequality more clearly than the general civil rights movement. He is known as one of the most influential African Americans in history, being credited with bringing the black community a sense of togetherness, self-respect, and pride in their African roots.
Okay. If you can follow me. This here is, I've been to the mountaintop, Dr. King's last speech given the night before his assassination, on April 3rd, 1968, presented by Cliff. And the video will be right here behind you.